Blessed good morning to us all, and welcome to our devotions for yet another day. Today is Tuesday in the week of the season of rogation, when we focus on the earth, all that sustains us, the fish of the sea and the produce of the land. And this week we are focusing on the theme, to know myself as love. There is such an importance in knowing who we are in this world. I think in our whole process of evolution, we have really come to an important time. And I'm trusting and praying and hoping that we all can get it, that we all can make the effort to do the work for the transition or the transformation to take place in our lives. There are many tools out there in the world that are being rediscovered. And I say rediscovered because there is some wisdom that has been around for ages. And for various reasons, this wisdom has been hidden, or has been lost, or has been suppressed. Oftentimes out of the desire of the few to control. But now that we are in what we are calling the information age, we have access. We have access to all that has gone on before us. And there is a sense in which we can finally catch up and be the people that God intended us to be as we continue to grow and evolve and expand. Yesterday I mentioned that the group CLF will be hosting a teacher in November to look at the Enneagram. The Enneagram is one of those wisdom tools that has been around for millennia, and it is now being rediscovered to help us to understand better who we are and how we need to be in this world. Because it is all about change, about transformation, about growth. There's nothing static in the human experience. Nothing whatsoever. And so as we come this morning now to go into our time of devotion, we take a few moments to center ourselves and to receive all that is for us. Here we are, in a world where there is hope, in a world where there is opportunity. But the hope and the opportunity is not outside of ourselves. It may seem that way. But the hope and the opportunity is within. Within each heart. Within each life. We are made for this time. But we must be ready and willing to engage in this time. And so we practice coming into our hearts with gratitude, with love. And we breathe. We breathe into that divine space we allow. We allow ourselves to remember who we are. Not who we have sought to be, not who others would like us to be, but who we are, who we have always been and will always be. We come into that space, that original space, and we abide there. We allow ourselves to feel and remember what it is like to be ourselves, our true selves. We remember that we are light. We are love. We release all that has in any way impacted us and caused us to be persons that we were not intended to be. We seek that true self, that original self. Even if for just a few moments, just to remember, to awaken. This is who we are. Beings of love. Beings of grace. Jesus said, "Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what is sown in the heart. This is what was sown on the path. As for what was sown on rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet such a person has no root, but endures only for a while. And when trouble or persecution arises on account of the word, that person immediately falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the cares of the age and the lure of wealth choke the word, and it yields nothing. But as for what was sown on good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and yields in one case 100-fold, in another 60, and in another 30. The parable of the sower is a very familiar parable in Scripture, and it is one that has great meaning and depth to it. But it is also important for us to remember that it is a metaphor. It is Jesus using what is familiar to speak to something that is greater. And the downside of metaphors is that they're limited. They can only convey a particular aspect of what is being shared. In the parable of the sower, where Jesus speaks of seed falling on rocky places, seed falling among thorns, seed falling on soil that wasn't the greatest, seed falling on good soil. We have to realize, as Jesus intended, was that all these aspects are examples of the human condition. But at the onset, there is something I want us to know and to understand. And that is that there is no frozen aspect of creation. Everything is in a state of motion, movement. All of creation vibrates. All of creation moves. If it doesn't move, it cannot exist. And by move, we may not necessarily see it move 10 feet, but it moves. As small as the movement is, it must move. There must be vibration. There must be movement for anything to exist. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because one might very well listen to this passage and perceive as oneself in a rocky ground, in a rocky place, recognizing that, yes, I have this desire constantly to turn and to be open to my spiritual growth and engagement, but so oftentimes that intention is snatched away from me by one circumstance or another. And one might dangerously perceive oneself as locked in this place. I want us to know that we are all able to transform. We are all able to move from where we are. The parable seeks to help us to realize the various ways in which we respond. But we are not condemned to that place. There is movement. And we must embrace the movement. The idea of knowing myself as love is about that movement. It does not happen instantaneously for the bulk of us. We have to work at it. The rocky ground persons, where the seed is placed in the heart, but it is snatched away. It is snatched away because life circumstances remind us of how tough this world is. And as much as we may desire to walk with God, the things that we have been through represent themselves and, in a sense, dispel the seed that is planted in our hearts, as if birds came and plucked it out. But that's just a sense of where we are at the moment. It is not who we are. And this is why it is so vital for us to hear the word, to hear that we are love. Because no matter what my circumstance is at any given moment in time, what keeps me going is knowing who I am. The various persons that have gone through such turmoil know this as a fact. The great leader Nelson Mandela, who was in prison for some 21 years, I believe it was, when he comes out of prison, there was such a depth to his presence. Because in those years, no doubt, he had the choice to hold his anger, to feed on it, to in some way burn up within, trusting that the day he gets out, he will have his revenge. Or he could use the time to remember that he was love, to remember himself, his original self. And it would appear that he chose the latter. He re-entered the world, the everyday world, from a different place. He understood. We are not condemned to our circumstances. Our circumstances are all intended to lead us back to ourselves. They're not intended to condemn us. They're not intended to seal our fate. They're not. But so oftentimes, we see it as the hand we've been dealt. And even though in a game of cards, which is usually not one particular hand, but there are many hands. And the idea of playing the hand that you've been dealt is oftentimes perceived as doing one's best with what one has. Doing one's best with what one has. Because the idea is to never give up on oneself. Knowing that if one is able to get through this hand, the next hand will be different. It is the process of transformation constantly moving, constantly changing, constantly being filled with hope. A hope that is within. A hope that no one can take away because it is within us. It is ours. It will always be ours. And as long as we're able to know that this is ours, we will always be able to find a way forward. So as we go through this journey together, as we seek to grow day by day, it is important for us to recall who we are. To remember that we are love. We are truly love. This is who we are. We are love. And we must be love for this world. I pray God's grace in your hearts and your lives that you may truly know this for yourself.